everyone, in this video we are going to talk about Table 4 of GSTR 3B. So we all understand that there was a change by the government in the month of July 2022 when they come up with a notification which is 14/2022, and along with that they have also come up with the circular which was issued on 6th July 2022 where the government have asked about how exactly we have to report the input tax credit in our GSTR 3B filing. So they have talked about lot of changes, and that changes were applicable from August 2022 return period. So in this video we are going to cover about that what were that exact changes and what exactly we are required to do when it comes to filing of your GSTR 3B. So let's focus especially on the table 4 of GSTR 3B. So now when we talk about table 4 of GSTR 3B, it mainly comprises of table 4A, table 4B, table 4C and table 4D. So these are the main things over here. Now when we look into table 4A, it mainly talks about the ITC available. So whatever the ITC which is available to you, rather it's because of import of goods or maybe import of services, or it could be the inward supplies from the RCM part, it could be your inward supplies in respect of ISD, or it could be all other ITC. All of this comes and sit in table number 4A. Then you have table number 4B. So 4B is mainly divided into two parts. One is your temporary reversal and another is your permanent reversal. So when we look into table number 4B1, it mainly refers to all of the permanent reversals which you are going to do out of the ITC which you have shown in table number 4A will come and sit in table number 4B1. And whenever there is a kind of a temporary reversal, that information will come and sit in table number 4B2. We are going to understand this in detail with the help of examples so that you now understand that what exactly we are required to do. Then we do have table number 4C. 4C is nothing but just a net figure. Whatever is coming in 4A minus what is coming in 4B, the difference comes and sit in 4C, and this is the amount which actually goes and sit in your electronic credit ledger. So tomorrow, in case the department asks for any incorrect ITC claim and if they want to charge any interest, they are going to look after the figure of table 4C and not what is actually shown in table number 4A, right? So they are only going to refer on what exactly was the amount which is sitting in your electronic credit ledger where you have incorrectly claimed that ITC, and accordingly obviously the interest actually gets charged. Now when we look into table number 4D, this is mainly for the declaration purpose. We have to give certain kind of declaration to the government, and that declaration could be that okay, you have some sort of an ineligible ITC because of the place of supply provision or maybe because of some time barred thing. That information comes and sit in your table number 4D. Or there could be some declaration purpose where you are claiming certain ITC which is related to previous month, which means you have reversed earlier in the previous month, but now in this particular month you are claiming that ITC. That also comes and sit in table number 4D. And most of you obviously would have a query, what if I don't even put information in table 4D, because anyhow it's for declaration purpose. But here we have to be very careful about this thing. Even if it is just for the declaration purpose, it is very much relevant to report the correct information even in table number 4D. And we are actually going to cover that why it is even important for you to give the correct information in table number 4D. So now we are going to understand how exactly we have to fill table 4 with the help of an example. So when we are talking about this table 4, right, we just have talked about 4A, 4B, 4C and 4D. But now let's focus on a particular section. But before that, I just want to understand one simple question from you. Today, can we actually fill entire table 4 of GSTR 3B basis PR or not? So you can just reply on the screen which is presented. Can we actually go ahead and claim the ITC directly as per my purchase register? Now I think most of you would have actually answered that yes, we can claim, but some of you would have answered no, we cannot claim. So now the bigger question comes over here is that today if you ask me, can I directly go ahead and claim my ITC as per my purchase register in my 3B? The answer comes no. I cannot directly go ahead and claim the ITC as per the purchase register. And the reason why I can't even claim the ITC as per my purchase register is that today if you think about certain examples, let's assume that there was a supplier but the supplier was not compliant at all and the supplier has not filed his GSTR 1. Since he has not filed his GSTR 1 on time, this information will never appear in your GSTR 2B. And if this information is not appearing in your GSTR 2B, you are not allowed to claim the ITC on certain transaction. So if you ask me, can I directly rely on my purchase register and claim the ITC in the 3B? Answer is no. You cannot claim the ITC in your GST 3B basis your purchase register only. Now the next question I would ask you is, can you go ahead and claim the ITC directly as per your 2B? So if I look into my 2B for a particular return period, can I directly rely on that 2B and go ahead and fill my entire GST 3B basis that? The answer would again come as no. I cannot. I cannot claim the ITC directly basis my GST 2B. And why I can't even claim that ITC? So the bigger reason over here is that there may be certain transaction where you may have purchased some goods or the services from your supplier, but you have not even received that goods. So if you have not even received the goods, even if your supplier was compliant, he has filed his GST 1, the information was appearing in your GST 2B, but since you have not even received the goods on that particular month, in that particular case you are not allowed to claim ITC, because one of the important condition over here is that you should have received the goods or the services in respect of that particular transaction against which you want to claim the ITC. So again, if you ask me, can I directly go ahead and claim ITC as per the 2B? Obviously I can't, because maybe I have certain transaction where I have not even received the goods and the services. Or maybe there could be another transaction where again my supplier was compliant and the supplier has filed his GST 1, information was appearing in 2B, but still that particular ITC is ineligible for me, which means it is covered under section 17 subsection 5. For example, I have purchased some food and beverages which is for my employee benefit expenses. Again in that case I am not allowed to claim the ITC. So even if this information is appearing in your GST 2B as an eligible ITC, you are not allowed to claim the ITC in that, right? So in short, just to summarize that, you cannot directly go ahead and claim the ITC as per your GST 2B. So here as a conclusion, what you have to do is you have to do a reconciliation between your 2B and the purchase register, and basis both this information you can go ahead and fill your entire GST 3B, especially the table 4, because that is a section which is related to your ITC, right? So if you ask me, can I go ahead with 2B only? The answer is no. Can I go ahead directly with the PR? No, the answer is no. So always you have to reconcile 2B and the PR to go ahead and prepare your GST 3B table 4, right? But now let's understand how exactly we have to even fill in, right? What is the information we have to fill in different parts of table number 4. So when we are referring to table number 4A, let's talk about 4A1, which actually talks about import of goods. So now the question is, when it comes to the ITC in respect of the import of goods, again the next question we obviously will have in our mind is whether that information appears in your GST 2B or not. Maybe you can try to answer that. Whether the information in respect of import of goods appears in your 2B or not, right? The answer over here is yes, this information is something where I have already paid the taxes at ICE gate, and since I have already paid the taxes at ICE gate, this information actually goes and appears in my GST 2B. So I can see this information in my GST 2B. But now the question is, when it comes to claiming the ITC and showing this information in my GST 3B, do I have to only look into my 2B and I can go ahead and claim ITC? Or should I look into my purchase register and then go ahead and claim ITC? Or should I do a certain kind of reconciliation and accordingly claim the ITC in my GST 3B? So the answer to this is, ideally you should always reconcile your 2B and your purchase register and accordingly claim the ITC. But you may get certain kind of transactions, like maybe you had imported some goods through courier and all, and many times this information does not even appear in your GST 2B. So if that's the case, then the government have already given the functionality where using the search bill of entry information, that is one functionality which is given, you can get that information in the portal itself, and accordingly you can always go ahead and claim ITC. So if we talk about import of goods, you don't have to always rely on your 2B to claim the ITC. Even basis your books and books of accounts, you can go ahead and claim the ITC in respect of your import of goods. Now the next question, right? So that's our next part, which is table number 4A2. Now when we are looking into table number 4A2, it actually talks about your import of services. Now the next same question, whether the information in respect of import of services comes and appear in your GST 2B or not. You can try to answer. Yes. So if you all, and obviously most of you would always say this, that this information is not even appearing in my GST 2B, which is again the correct answer. So when it comes to import of services, this information is never appearing in your GST 2B. This is something where you have to rely on your books of accounts itself. Basis your purchase register, you have to go ahead and claim that ITC. So when it comes to the import of services, you always have to rely on your books of account, and accordingly you have to claim the ITC, and that is the information which you are going to show in your table number 4A2. So when it comes to 4A2, which is import of services, you only have to rely on your books of account, and accordingly you have to claim the ITC. But again remember, you only have to claim the eligible portion over here. Now the next part, which is your table number 4A3. So table number 4A3, if we look into this, what exactly it is saying is talking about inward supplies liable to reverse charge. So all my purchases where I was liable to pay the taxes under reverse charge. Again I have another same question, whether this information appears in your GSTR 2B or not. You can try to answer. So here if we talk about this inward supplies which is liable to reverse charge, the answer is little different. Why it is even different? So if you say, okay, I am purchasing something from a registered person and I was liable to pay the taxes under reverse charge, then yes, this information will actually appear in your GST 2B. But if I am purchasing from an unregistered person and I was liable to pay the taxes under reverse charge, this information will never appear in my GST 2B because the supplier is not going to file GST 1 at all, right? So here if we look into this particular section, which is table number 4A3, some of the information may appear in your GST 2B, but some of the information may not even appear in your GST 2B. Now the question is, how exactly I am going to fill this table number 4A3? So for this, I would always suggest, see, you should always do a reconciliation with your 2B and your purchase register in respect of your registered supply. Because many times there could be a case where your supplier would have filed and said that, okay, you were liable to pay the taxes under reverse charge, but you have never even recorded that. So just to know that there is a liability which you are required to pay, it's very important that you put this information and this information is actually appearing, right? So if you have not recorded that liability, just record that liability and show in even table number 3.1D, which is the liability section. We are going to talk about that at a later stage. Right now I am going to only focus on table number 4, right? So but now the question is, what about ITC? What if my supplier was still registered, I was liable to pay the taxes under reverse charge, but my supplier has not even reported that information in GST 1. Do I have to still go ahead and claim the ITC in my GST 3B? Can I do that or I cannot do that? So answer over here is, when it comes to the purchases in respect of your reverse charge, right, where you are liable to pay the taxes under the reverse charge, if you have paid the taxes, if you have paid the liability in table number 3.1D of your GST 3B, in that particular case, you don't have to worry about whether your supplier has filed his GST 1 or not. You can always go ahead and claim the ITC in your table 4A3 of GST 3B in respect of RCM supplies, right? So here again I am not dependent on my GST 2B to claim the ITC. I just have to make sure whether all the conditions has been fulfilled or not, which means whether I have received the goods or not, it is not a kind of an ineligible ITC or not. If all of that conditions has been fulfilled, then yes, I can always go ahead and claim the ITC. So what you have to do over here also, we are going to talk about it, because now the next question which all of you have in your mind is, do I have to only put the eligible portion or should I put both the eligible and ineligible portion over here in table number 4A3 and then do the reversal? That is something which I am going to answer at a later stage. Now the next part. We understood about the RCM wala thing. We understand this is from the registered and the unregistered person, and you can always rely on your books of account to claim the ITC, and I think we all agree to that. Next part is table number 4A4. So when we talk about table number 4A4, it mainly refers to your inward supplies from ISD. Inward supplies from ISD, who actually takes this ISD registration? It is your input service distributor, which is nothing but your head office. So your head office itself take the registration whenever they are getting some common services as an input which they want to distribute to all of its branches. And you maybe in this particular case are branches who are actually claiming the ITC whatever on the basis of whatever the invoices which has been issued by this head office, who have registered themselves as an ISD. Now again the question is whether this information appears in your GST 2B. You can just again reply on the screen which you are able to see. And obviously, all of you are saying yes, that this information is something which actually appears in your GST 2B, and obviously yes, whenever your ISD registration files their GST 6, this information actually appears in your GST 2B. Now the question is, should I claim the ITC as per 2B or should I claim the ITC as per my purchase register, which is what I have recorded, or should I do a reconciliation between these two and accordingly claim the ITC? So for this particular thing, I would always say that this ISD in itself is your own head office. This is coming under the same PAN. So if it is coming under the same PAN, it's always good that you always claim the ITC as per your GST 2B, because the information which is filed in GST 6 is your own organization, which is under the same PAN number. So you should always rely on your GST 2B to claim the ITC when it comes to your inward supply from an ISD, so that there is no dispute. And even if they have filed something wrong, just ask them to amend that and accordingly go ahead and claim the ITC. Right? So this was about table number 4A4. Now I would say it's a very important section, which is table number 4A5, and most of the queries which we have is in relation to table number 4A5. What exactly this 4A5 even talk about? It says all other inward supplies, right? So when we are talking about all other inward supplies, what exactly that means? We have already covered import of goods, import of services, RCM supply, ISD wala thing. Now the question is what we mean by all other supplies. So it's nothing but it is actually the supply from a registered person other than the reverse charge, right? Whenever you are making the purchases from the registered person which is not liable to the reverse charge, that is the information which you have to put in table number 4A5. And this is really very important section which we should actually understand, because the major change was in this particular section. Now if we talk about whether that information appears in your GST 2B or not, the answer is yes. Whatever the purchases you are making from a registered person, this is that information which actually appears in your GST 2B. This is the main section where you have to reconcile your purchase register and 2B to fill this information over here, right? Now obviously you would have a very simple question. Should I directly fill in the information in table number 4A5 basis my 2B? I would say directly, maybe no, but should it match? Maybe yes. Let's talk about all of this with the help of certain examples. If you talk about 2B, let's now directly look into the 2B. 2B, let's focus inside the 2B. We know that ISD information is also there, import of goods information is also there. Let's right now focus only on the supplies which you have made from a registered person. So if we focus on the supplies from a registered person, that is the information which actually comes and sit in table number 4A5. But then you would say, wait a minute, when we always look into GST 2B, I always see there is two parts to it. Even from supply from a registered person, there are two parts to it. One is your ITC available, another is ITC not available. What do we actually mean by that? So here if we refer to the ITC not available wala part, right? So that ITC not available could be only because of two reasons. How would even government know that it's an ITC not available basis what was filed by the supply in their GST 1? They only know when there is a mismatch in the place of supply. Let's understand with the help of example. Suppose you are registered in the state of Karnataka, you visited Delhi and there you stayed in a hotel. This hotelier asked what is your GST number. So you gave your Karnataka GST to them. So when you gave your Karnataka GST to them, now the question is what exact kind of tax this particular hotelier is going to charge. So in this particular case, we all understand this supply is registered in the state of Delhi. The place of supply would again be Delhi, because this is a case where this immovable property is situated. And this immovable property is located in the state of Delhi. So here the POS will again be Delhi. And that particular supply, which means the hotelier, is going to charge CGST and SGST, right? Now the question is, can I go ahead and claim the ITC? Because obviously they have mentioned my Karnataka GST over there. So here the government clearly mentions whenever there is an intra-state transaction and the place of supply which has been mentioned by the supplier is not matching with their own state, I cannot claim ITC on this transaction. So this is categorized as ITC not available. So whenever you look into your GST 2B, this is known as ITC not available. Now the next part over here is that whenever there is a time barred thing, what exactly we mean by time barred? We all understand that if we have to claim the ITC, there is a maximum limit when I can actually claim the ITC against a particular document. And what is that maximum limit? It has been clearly mentioned that it is till my next year 30th November. So, the maximum limit to claim ITC in respect of any particular financial year is till my next year 30th November. So, by 30th November I should go ahead and claim the ITC, and if I have not claimed the ITC, again it is categorized as ITC not available. But the question is, how exactly the government knows about this? Because when we look into our GST 3B, just a summary section. How would government know that there were certain invoices against which I have not even claimed the ITC till 30th November of the next year? So, here when the government is talking about the time part thing, they are referring that let us assume there was a supplier and that supplier was non-compliant. Supplier was supposed to file his return, let us assume for March 2023. He was supposed to file this particular return, which is GST 1, by 11th of April. But this supplier has not even filed his return. Now, when the supplier has not filed his GST return, in that particular case, what government have taken an action that obviously they have suspended his GST number itself. Now, when they have suspended his GST number, later he realized after doing lot of follow-ups and all, finally his particular GST got revoked by the government. Now, he can always go ahead and file the return. But let's think about that this all thing happened on 1st December. So, finally on 1st December 2023, the supplier has filed his GST return. So, now when the supplier has filed his GST return on 1st of December 2023, in this particular case, if you look into your GST 2B, this will only appear in the month of December, which will obviously be populated on 14th of January 2024. Now, question is, can you go ahead and claim the ITC against the same? Obviously, I can't claim because there was a time limit attached to it. So, here I could have claimed the ITC only till 30th November, which means I could have claimed it only till my October GST 3B, right? Because October 3B I could have filed till my, let's say, 20th of November. So, now after that I am not even allowed to claim the ITC against the same. So, this is again categorized as ITC not available. So, I can't claim ITC against the same. So, these are the two categories where government itself defines in the GST 2B that this is ITC not available and you are not allowed to claim the ITC, right. Now, the second category we all understand, it's an ITC available. And now, when we look into ITC available, what exactly government means by ITC available? Whatever the supplies you are doing from the registered person other than what is covered under ITC not available will come under ITC available. But then again, when we look into the ITC available, we all understand that even when I am doing a purchases from a registered person and this transaction is covered under the reverse charge, this information also comes and sit in my ITC available supplier from a registered person. Let me ask you one simple question. Whether the reverse charge transaction which is coming and sitting in my GST 2B under the supply from a registered person under ITC available, will it come and sit in table number 4A5? So, you can just answer over here. Right. So, as you all mentioned that this information is something you are not going to show in table number 4A5. Rather, this is the information which we are going to show in table number 4A3 because this is the transaction which is covered in reverse charge and I would have already shown this information in table number 4A3. So, this information will not come and sit in table number 4A5. So, which means when we are looking into ITC available, we have to remove all the reverse charge transaction. Only other than reverse charge information will come and sit in table number 4A5. But now we have the next question. We understood that you are saying that ITC available other than reverse charge will come in table number 4A5. What about that ITC not available? Will that information also comes and sit in table number 4A5? Maybe you can try to answer that. Right. So, here again when we look into ITC not available part, government has already made a separate section for the same and that section is table number 4D2. Government says that whenever it is ITC not available as per your GST 2B, you directly put that information in table number 4D2. You don't add anywhere, you don't subtract that information at all. Whenever it's ITC not available as per your GST 2B, you have to directly put that information in table number 4D2. That is how exactly we have to show that to the government that, hey, I know that this is some ITC not available as per my 2B and this is somewhere I am going to show this information to you. So, which means when we look into table number 4A5, I am not going to put the ITC not available as per 2B in my table number 4A5. And what exactly I am going to even populate over there? which means in short, whatever is appearing in my 2B as an ITC available other than reverse charge will come and sit in table number 4A5. This is something which we have to show it over here. But then you would say, it means you are saying that information coming in 4A5 will always match with my 2B other than reverse charge ITC available part? Answer could be yes. But then you are like, no, how is that even possible? Many times I claim the ITC which is related to my previous month. Where exactly I am going to even show that information? Let's talk about all of this thing in detail, like what exactly we have to do for all that transaction, right? Now, at least one part we understood that yes, somewhat ITC available part other than reverse charge will come and sit in table number 4A5. But then you were like, okay, wait, what about my ineligible ITC? Though government is saying it is an ITC available, but I know that there is some transaction which is covered under section 17(5). We are not even allowed to claim the ITC. An example could be, I purchase some food and beverages for my employees' benefit. I am not allowed to claim ITC. What should I do about that? Should I actually add that in 4A5 or I should just remove that? So for that, the government have clarified that see, when you're putting that information, because it's actually appearing in your GST 2B under the ITC available part, you put that information table number 4A5. But since you're not allowed to claim the ITC again the same, I'm introducing one section called 4B1. So you put that ineligible portion in table number 4B1 so that whenever you look into the net figure in table number 4C, you're not claiming ITC and you're claiming ITC only on the eligible part. Think about an example. Supplier file, you purchase obviously this food and beverages. It was appearing in your GST 2B and let's assume the tax amount was 100. You also recorded this transaction in your books of account as an ineligible ITC. So this information is also appearing in your books of account as 100 but as an ineligible. This both document got matched. This is an exact match. There was no problem at all. Now when this document got matched, what will happen? This information will appear in 4A5 because it is appearing in 2B. So you have to show in 4A5 as 100 rupees. But since you are not allowed to claim the ITC on this transaction, you have to put the same information in table number 4B1 as 100. So that when you look into the net impact, which is 4C, it is coming as 0. That is that amount which is going and sitting in your electronic credit ledger, which means ultimately you are not claiming any ITC on this transaction. But how exactly we have to report it? We have to first add in 4A5 and then do the reversal so that the value which is appearing in table number 4A5 is always matching with your GST 2B eligible portion other than reverse charge. Right? I think this point is clear to everyone. Now let's talk about another important point. Now in this time, ineligible part we understood that okay, you add it, then you subtract it so that my 4A5 is matching with my 2B. But the question is, what if my supplier was compliant? I have no problem with my supplier, but I have not received the goods at all. Let's assume I have done a transaction, let's say on 31st March. So on 31st March, I have purchased something from my supplier. And the supplier was compliant. He has filed his GST 1 for the month of March by 11th of April. And I was also able to see this invoice in my GST 2B when I downloaded my GST 2B for the month of March, obviously on 14th of April. But when I looked into my books of account, I have not even recorded this transaction in the month of March. The reason is I have not even received the goods. Since I have not even received the goods, obviously I have not recorded this transaction in my books of account. Can I go ahead and claim the ITC? The answer is no. But then you will be like, okay, but 4A5, I should put this information because I want to match that with my 2B eligible portion other than reverse charge. How would I do that then? Then for that, the government says that clearly 4A5, yes, you should add this information so that it matches with your 2B. So in 4A5, I am going to put this information. Let's assume the tax amount is 100. So in table number 4A5, I will put the tax amount of 100 rupees. But because in the month of March, because I am filing my GST return for the month of March, I am not allowed to claim the ITC. So since I am not allowed to claim ITC, what I am going to do? I am going to put that information table number 4B2. Which is also known as a temporary reversal, because maybe in future I have to go ahead and claim the ITC against this transaction, right? In this month I am not allowed to claim ITC, but maybe in the month of April when I actually have received the goods, I am allowed to claim the ITC. So the government says 4A5 you put 100 rupees and then because a temporary reversal you are not allowed to claim the ITC in a particular month, you put that information in table number 4B2. So in table number 4B2, I am going to put 100 so that when you look into table number 4C, the value is 0, which is nothing is going in your electronic credit ledger and you have not claimed any ITC in respect of this transaction in this particular month. So in March, you have not claimed any ITC in this particular transaction. But then you will be like, okay, I actually understood about the month of March when I have not received the goods, but this was appearing in my GST 2B. So you added the transaction 4A5 so that it matches with your 2B, and then you have also reversed that ITC so that I am not claiming any ITC at all. I got that point. But what about my April month? So when I jumped into the next month, which is the month of April, finally when I was in the month of April, I actually have received this particular goods. And I recorded this transaction in my books of accounts also. But when I downloaded my 2B for the month of April, I could not even see this transaction because this transaction was in the month of March. It was not part of my April month. Now, can't I claim ITC against this transaction? So the answer is yes, we can go ahead and claim the ITC. Why we can even claim the ITC? Because obviously I have fulfilled all the conditions. So it's appearing in my 2B of March month. I have received the goods against the same. So if everything is happening and I have obviously fulfilled all the conditions of section 16, I am allowed to claim the ITC against this transaction. So while I am filing my GST 3B for the month of April, I am allowed to claim the ITC. So where exactly we have to fill in this information is table number 4A5. So in 4A5, I am now going to show rupees 100. But then the next question comes in that if in the month of April, I am going to put this 100 rupees in table number 4A5, then it will never match with my GST 2B for the month of April. Because in my 2B for the month of April, this information is not even appearing. It was appearing in the month of March. How would government now know that, okay, this is something which I have claimed for my previous month? So for that, the government actually have introduced table number 4D1. So the government says that yes, you are allowed to claim ITC, you put that information table number 4A5, but at the same time also put the same information table number 4D1. So you put 4A5 100 and 4D1 you have to again put 100 rupees so that when the government checks, they always look into value which is appearing in 4A5 minus what is coming in 4D1 is always equivalent or equal to your 2B eligible portion other than reverse charge. So that is a check which government always does whenever they even issue you any kind of notices. So they have already launched one more form which is DRC01C, and that form talks about whenever there is a differences between 2B and the 3B beyond that threshold limit, then obviously they are going to raise a notice to you. So whenever they look into this value, how exactly they check? They always look into table number 4A5 minus 4D1. It should always be equivalent to 2B eligible portion other than reverse charge. So that's a check which government always does when it comes to comparing your 2B with your GST 3B. So this is something which you should always look for before even you finalize your GST 3B, right? So in this way, that's the main reason why I said that declaration part is really important. Because if you don't declare it correctly, then obviously there would be differences, and whenever there is a differences, you will end up getting a notices from the department because they will look into these differences and accordingly they will even raise the notice to you, right? So this is an important point which we should understand, that how exactly we have to even declare this information. Similarly, if you may have other reversals because of rule number 42 or rule number 43, so this is a sort of a permanent reversal because you are doing certain kind of both the exempted supply and the taxable supply, you have to report that information in table number 4B1. So once it will be added in 4A5 and then you have to subtract that information by putting this information in table number 4B1, right, because a permanent reversal. Right? This is what we have to do. Now, when we were looking into all this thing, we got the check. We understand whenever there is an ineligible ITC because of the POS or because of maybe the time bar thing, we have to directly report in table number 4D2 because this is something which appears in your GST 2B as an ineligible ITC. Other than that, if there is any ineligible ITC because of section 17 subsection number 5 or because of rule 42, 43 reversals, that information we have to put in table number 4B1. But obviously when I am saying we have to put in information in table number 4B1 does not mean that only we have to put in 4B1. This will be first added in 4A5 and then has to be reversed in table number 4B1 so that the net impact is only the eligible portion, which means you are claiming the ITC only on the eligible portion. So that is something which we have to always do. In the same way, when it comes to RCM liability also, you have to add in table number 4A3 again both the eligible and ineligible portion, and that ineligible portion you have to reverse by putting that information in table number 4B1. This is what you have to do when you are reporting this information in table 4 of GSTR 3B. So this was pretty much about table 4 of GSTR 3B, and I hope you understand what exactly we have to do. But again, when I was talking about this, there was one important point which you were saying that, okay, what about the credit notes? What we have to do of the credit notes? So here also the government have changed the system, how exactly they populate your 2B, right? Or I would say populate your GSTR 3B from your GSTR 2B. They always put the net figure. So when it comes to credit note also, you always have to put the net figure, which means in 4A5 itself, it will be invoices plus debit note minus credit note. That is the information you have to put. So whenever it comes to credit note also, you always have to report as a negative thing, which means it's for the invoices plus debit note minus credit note. That is what you have to do. So hope this video was relevant for you and you are able to understand table 4 of GSTR 3B. In the next video, we are going to cover exactly how we can prepare your entire table 4 of GSTR 3B by using clear text, along with not only table 4 but actually your entire 3B using clear text. Thank you, and let's check for the next video.